The Shark Deck.
I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Jim Gaffigan's new special is out on Amazon tomorrow. Jim talked about the early days of his career. He spoke to Variety, and Jim was living a double life. He had a job in advertising and was kind of hiding the comedy career. And he said, I think today we've been educated by YouTube and streaming services and decades of Comedy Central. There's a respect for stand-up comedy. But back then, if you weren't on The Tonight Show and you were talking about being a comic, you were just considered mentally ill. I remember being so excited when I booked my first TV slot on Caroline's Comedy Hour, but I couldn't tell anyone. He became the oddball guy at work who was more of a mascot than anything. He'd show up exhausted and sleeping on his couch during lunch because he was up late taking classes or doing shows. Jim said, when they came in to fire me, I was actually asleep. They had to wake me up to lay me off. The worst part was I couldn't even use it in my act because Dave Attell already had a great joke about being woken up to get fired. Hot take from Jeff Foxworthy. He spoke to The Statesman and said, it was a different world back then. It was about getting on The Tonight Show, and if you could get to that couch and make Johnny laugh, there was nothing better than that. That's not the hot take. It's this hot take. But I got to set it up. The Statesman wrote, Jeff Foxworthy did not say this. The Statesman wrote, back then, most successful comics delivered jokes. However, the top comedians today who are headlining arenas such as Joe Coy, Bert Kreischer, and Gabriel Iglesias tell stories, okay? So that's a setup from The Statesman, to which Foxworthy reacted and said, I don't say this often out loud, but when I watch these people, and there's so many of them, I say, where's the jokes? You've been on for 3 minutes without a laugh. Where are the jokes? I guess times change. Remember what it was like with Rodney Dangerfield? Good joke from Foxworthy here. He was watching the George Carlin documentary on HBO last year and said at one point, Judd Apatow pointed out that George Carlin hit his 40th anniversary of stand-up. I looked at my wife and said, holy crap, 40 years of stand-up. Carlin did stand-up forever. And my wife looked at me and said, you're at year 39. Kathleen Madigan spoke to the union leader and said, I do a bit in my act about being in Taco Bell, and this guy in his mid-60s was just berating this 20-something because they were out of mild sauce. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure she's not in charge of the supply line. Quit yelling at the girl. It's not her fault that Taco Bell as a corporation is out of mild sauce. If you keep yelling, the girl's going to quit, and then we'll have to do it. I don't know how to make a soft chalupa. Do you, sir? I don't think you do. So let's be glad this young person has shown up and is going to get you what you want to the best of her capability. You're lucky she's here. Kathleen Madigan spoke about her friend and often tour partner Lewis Black and said, off stage, he can actually be quite silly and goofy, but there are topics like I was in a bar with him once and he got into it with this guy about the Yankees back when George Steinbrenner owned the team. I thought Lewis was going to stroke out, and I said, you know, dude, there are things that are worth getting this angry about. You don't actually know George Steinbrenner. You don't play for the Yankees. You don't play for the other teams playing the Yankees, so just bring it down a level. Plus, I didn't want to get in a bar fight because out of me and Lou, I would be the one throwing punches, not him. He'd run away. From Vanyaland, Yuckfest will be making its way from its Midwest roots to set up shop in Boston, October 19th through the 21st. Yuckfest, founded by comedian Caitlin McPhee, launched the fest in Indianapolis in 2019. It's a weekend-long celebration of music and comedy. The lineup so far, Bethany Van Delft, Daniel Van Kirk, Gordon Baker Bone, Michael Christmas, and Zahid Duji. Meanwhile, Anthony Anderson and Cedric the Entertainer are teaming up for a new unscripted series called Kings of Barbecue. In each one-hour episode, Kings of Barbecue will follow Cedric the Entertainer and Anthony Anderson as they meet with barbecue chefs, pit masters, and everyday experts who share their knowledge and secrets of the trade. Friends for years, Cedric and Anthony bonded over their shared love of barbecue and the unique history that surrounds it.
I'm Erica, one-third of the podcast Books and Betches, a comedy book podcast where we swear, spoil, and we talk about...
Whoa, you cannot say that in this.
What do you mean? That's our slogan. It's our gimmick.
How about we just give some examples of things we talk about?
Well, there's a lot of chaos.
I'm Kristen, and with me I have...
No.
A lot of sidebar conversations.
Are you denying the existence of chupacabras?
You know, Erica, yes, I am.
You can listen to new episodes of the Books and Betches podcast every Tuesday morning, anywhere you get your podcasts.
A relatively quiet Monday at the Montreal Just for Laughs Comedy Festival. That is not uncommon for a Monday to be quiet at a festival. 5 o'clock show, Dan Galea, Interdimensional Live. I'm curious. I've clicked. Dan Galea performs his debut musical comedy album, Interdimensional, produced by Scott Thompson from The Kids in the Hall. 7 o'clock Just for the Culture, 9:30, The Nasty Show. Looks like we're going to drink again. Now, tomorrow night, Tuesday night, it's loaded up. I will tell you about Tuesday night on Tuesday's podcast. It is loaded up. Oh, by the way, Jackie the Joke Man sent me his book. Thank you, Jackie Mortling. And he said his new documentary, Joke Man, was, I was texting with him on Friday morning, number 4 on iTunes, I think Jackie said. But if you haven't checked out Joke Man, you really should. It's really good. Jenny Yang is touring the Self-Help Me tour, which she calls a competitive self-care comedy show. You may recognize Yang as the voice of Carissa on the animated series The Great North. You also might recognize her from her days as a labor lawyer. Yeah, she said, I used to write and perform my own poetry, and that's how I started performing. I always had a lot of feedback. I'd either make people cry or make people laugh. So it wasn't until I got really burnt out from working in the labor movement that I was like, oh, I can't see a future for myself as a happy person. Let me try and cultivate my creative side. The Self-Help Me tour is kind of like my satirical take on wellness trends. It's like 75% making fun of wellness and 25% talking about it sincerely. Every single show, the 3 wellness warriors, who are usually comedians, compete to be the queen of self-care, regardless of gender. On the panel is always a 4th person who doesn't compete, who's always the resident expert on the topic. When we did our first show in LA, it was about burnout and work-life balance. I'm telling you right now, the therapist we had on hand made everybody gasp. That to me is what the Self-Help Me show is all about. We get to make fun of wellness, but also offer maybe a little bit of medicine that you need. It's a lot of sugar coating with a tiny bit of medicine. TJ Miller will be one of the voices in an animated comedy called Fortune, except where the E is supposed to be, stick a 3 there, so Fortune 3. Fortune 3 is going to make fun of crypto companies and crypto bros. You can also expect references to other business boondoggles driven by egomaniacs. The note says, think Theranos and WeWork. And I saw an interview with Toronto comedian Nima Naz, and it's in the Toronto Guardian, and I love how just matter of fact this entire interview is. I'm going to read it pretty much verbatim. You ready? The Guardian. Who are some of your influences? Answer. Russell Peters, Kevin Hart, Andrew Schultz, Louis C.K. Guardian. Who's your favorite comedian growing up? Answer. Russell Peters. Guardian. Who's your favorite comedian now? Andrew Schultz. Guardian. What is your pre-show ritual? Answer. Go over my set list several times, just take deep breaths and tell myself positive affirmations. I've been interviewing a lot of people lately, and some of the interviews were really awesome. And, sometimes you ask somebody a question and you get a one-word answer like this, and it is brutal. I'm not going to say anymore. Okay, Nima Naz, what's your favorite place you performed and why? Australia, because I got to make people on the other side of the world laugh. Do you have anything to promote right now? Yes, I'm opening for Chris D'Elia in Montreal and Nimish Patel in Toronto in the fall. And that's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Smash the like button, tell a friend, follow the show, all that. See you tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Mark Francis and host of a new podcast, The Messi Effect. Join us as we take you into the exciting new world of Argentine soccer phenomenon, Lionel Messi. And his new life at Inter Miami will bring you into the glitz, the glamour, the star-studded events, along with the exciting journey to a new world of U.S. soccer and international football with news and stories 3 times a week. Come along for the ride as Messi, Miami, and Major League Soccer experience the journey of a lifetime. Get the Messi Effect wherever you get your podcasts.